Well, hello, coffee beans. Welcome to Corkboard Connections. This is a new podcast series for esports and coffee where we meet new and upcoming talent within the esports and education industry, as well as take a deep dive into important topics within our ecosystem. So, I am one of your head baristas, AJ, and joining us today, we have one of our assistant baristas, Anissa, aka Queen of Salt. Hey!
Howdy, howdy.
Awesome. So, let's jump right into it today. Why don't you give a small introduction about yourself to the group here?
Okay, so hi everybody. My name is Anissa. We'll go with affiliated with Shawnee State University's esports program. I don't directly work with them anymore. I did up until this past year, but I mostly work with athletics. And if you've read anything about them on Shawnee State's website, it was probably written by me. I still write about them. It's the coolest job in the world.
Awesome. So there was a point in time where you were directly affiliated with the program there. So what drew you to esports initially?
So the first big memory I can think of when it comes to esports is I watched I think it was the 2015 Smite World Championship. It might have been 2016. Hilariously, there's a director from I think it's in collegiate somewhere who was working with the championship team at that point, and I was like, oh, that's like the world's coolest connection. But after that, I was like, okay, I'm going to college. I'm wanting to do stuff with gaming. And I had a friend who was running the gaming club at the time, which kind of had an esports component. And they conveniently needed a social media manager, and here I am now. I got addicted. Now you can't get rid of me.
I love it. So with Smite kind of being the pull there, is that a game that you yourself play or still play? Anything like that?
I used to once upon a blue moon, like freshman year of college, a million years ago at this point. I go back and I play occasionally. I'm nowhere near as good as I used to be, but I play.
Yeah, Smite was one of those games that maybe I tried once or twice. And the camera angle was something I just could not get.
Yep, that's
past.
fair.
I love it. So, what about esports, especially since with where you're currently at? Obviously, it's tied kind of within the university system. So, what about esports and it being in the education realm? What about that really speaks to you?
So, realistically, my all-time favorite thing that I have enjoyed since I was brought on at Shawnee 2.5 years ago was I get to make these connections with the students. Before I was kind of moved into athletics this year, I had a committee where I got to work hands-on with students in the esports team, program, and we were trying to make it just an overall welcoming place for everybody to be. I got to make these connections with the students. I got to see their ideas. I got to help them execute them. It was the most fun thing in the world.
I love that. What was maybe a favorite project that you worked on with the students, or maybe a favorite moment that you felt a lot of pride for your program? What's the highlight there?
We ended up that year we were also nominated for, I think it was Program of the Year or something along those lines at the Gamers Awards. So we ended up combining a program that I had with my students that we were working on, which was a holiday party, because not everybody celebrates Christmas, not everybody celebrates Hanukkah. So we were going to combine them and encourage everybody to if you want to bring something or something like that, like food or anything, bring it with you to our holiday party. At the end of the semester, we're going to celebrate our accomplishments and just each other. And we combined that with the Gamers Awards. I think it was pretty sure that was the same semester. And we had a huge turnout. People brought food, people brought cookies. Cookies were really good. They really stuck out. And we all got to, cheer for our favorites at the Gamers Awards. And we didn't win, but we got to cheer for ourselves too, because that's a huge accomplishment.
I love that. With now that's something, especially since I imagine that was a couple of years ago since you've
I
been
think so.
a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, it wasn't this past holiday, that's for sure, but it might have been the one before. I'm a
One
little fuzzy on the
before.
dates. Yeah.
Yeah. So with that being said, having get-togethers like that, super special. I think a lot of programs are getting more into that. I see more of that, at least more of that content being pushed out over socials, more of that side of programs. What are maybe some other aspects of the Shawnee State program? Um, Other things that maybe make it unique or maybe set it apart from others?
So I think the one thing that's really unique about it, and it's kind of unique about Shawnee State as a whole, is it's a very small campus. So typically, if you see somebody, for example, I had a teammate from when I was on the team in 2018 that I'm pretty sure I had a class with them every single semester. You know, you get to know and make these connections with students, with staff, and it's a very continual thing, you know, and that's how I ended up coming back. Was I made a connection. The head coach of esports at Shawnee State was our club supervisor, whatever, advisor. And, you know, later on I was like, hey, you know, I'm trying to get into esports, and they helped me get in. So it's a very continual experience, and I think that's really special.
Yeah, the small campus vibe, I really like that. That feels homey, right?
Hmm.
I hope that other folks are able to kind of feel that through their programs as well, even if they're at kind of big
Yeah.
state schools. I hope that's something that kind of can be felt, that even if they are, maybe at a large school where there's
It helps you find your
50,000
people.
plus.
It does.
Yeah.
Creating
Yeah.
these small communities, it helps you find your people.
Especially in a C, right? Where there
Hmm.
are thousands and thousands of students.
Exactly.
So, um, if you could maybe target one thing or maybe sum up the program with one word that you would want to describe it, or
Ooh.
have it as a way to like brand it, what might be a word or a phrase that you would use to kind of showcase the program?
Oh, that's difficult. It's funny because I'm gonna end up using the word home because that's what it's become for me. You know, I've been part of esports, especially with Shawnee State, for so long that it's like coming home. You know, it's
Yeah.
that place where I know it's gonna be there, and I know people. It's a familiar face.
Yeah. Even after graduation,
Yeah,
right?
like I've been
um
out of college for almost 3 years, and it's still home to me.
mhm. Are there other alumni that also have gotten that familiarity with coming back, maybe in a physical sense or maybe through Discord, maybe online presence?
It's pretty cool. We've had a relatively active alumni presence. A lot of our individual game coaches have been alumni. Especially like right when I started, it was pretty much we were all from the inaugural team. So it was a really cool kind of passing of the torch moment. You know, I watched the last member of the inaugural team graduate, and all of the coaching staff at that point, aside from Travis, were, you know, on the inaugural team. So oh,
How
I love
neat.
that continuation thing. It's poetry.
Yeah, that and it definitely is like a way to give back. I know that, and I'm sure folks out there as well can relate to this. Is like once you graduate, like your university's always going to send you that letter in the mail. Contribute to your university today, and usually it is in the financial sense. And
Yep.
like as a recent graduate, there's usually not enough room for
Yeah.
that in the budget.
It's a more
um
tangible way to give back.
Yeah, it's a easier on the pocketbook, and like you said, it's a way to kind of stay connected to that home sense.
Exactly.
I love that. So switching gears a little bit, current job duties in the athletic department, writing stories about the athletic department. What else might you be up to?
I do a little bit of everything. Our athletic director once called me the Swiss Army knife of our team, and it like I'm still riding that high. It's my favorite compliment I've ever received. Um, Example, we did our Hall of Fame and Athletic Award ceremony like 2 weeks ago, and I worked on, you know, the slides that you saw in the background. I, you know, helped with spell checking the pamphlets. I, you know, got to help pick the awards. I just kind of do a little bit of everything now. And
Mhm.
it's really nice. I believe variety is the spice of life. So I'm never bored.
Yes. Ooh, love that. So is that what's drawing you to your current role, even though you are not 100% dedicated to esports, but is that kind of the draw there?
Yeah, I still get to participate with esports, which is kind of my favorite part. I'm not completely separate despite the fact that I'm not, integral, hands-on with the program anymore. I still get to watch these games and cheer for these students who work so hard. And I still get to, write about them and brag about them, which has always been my favorite part of the job.
Yeah. So with your current job duties, responsibilities, what do you think might be your biggest struggle that you've got right now?
I gotta say, it's that being less hands-on. My favorite part, especially when I had that committee, was I got to see these students grow, from being a freshman to being a senior and graduating. I get to see them grow as leaders. I get to see them grow in-game. I get to see them grow academically. And I feel a little removed from that now. And I'm hoping to find a way to work with it more again. But in the meantime, I'll continue to brag. They deserve it.
Yeah. Now I know that Shawnee State has a ton of teams
Hmm.
participating in a
5.
ton of different titles, right? Yeah.
Hmm.
Do you ever find it a little overwhelming since there are? I mean, I just remember as a coach, the schedule each week is jam packed, and every day of the week is a different. It's a different title. There's a
Yeah.
different playoff match. There's somebody's over here traveling to a land. The other team is back home, and they're preparing for this match over here while you're covering all of those different stories. What are some things that you utilize to kind of help you stay organized and kind of stay ahead of deadlines?
That whiteboard back there. I erased everything off of it for this because I was like, I don't need everybody to see what's on there. But at some point or another, I'm pretty sure I've had, 8 to 10 games just because,
Oh
especially
yeah.
I don't know if our actual NAIA conference did esports this year, but when we were doing that on top of NACE, each team out of 5 teams would have 1 to 2 games a week. And they overlapped or, it was the same day and it was a lot to handle.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I am definitely a list person. I joke that I've
Yeah.
become my mother.
And that's easily, even if you're doing kind of quick write-ups about each of them, that's easily like 10, 12 different write-ups that you would issue out throughout the
Yeah,
week.
I ended up starting to condense them on like a daily basis. So,
Hmm.
when we had Call of Duty and they would play the same day as Rocket League, I would say, Rocket League did this and Call of Duty did this, and then I would just have like individual chunks of the article dedicated to them. Because otherwise that's so many articles, you're gonna flood everything and somebody's gonna miss it. So
Yeah. And bye bye regular traditional
exactly.
sports because you're gonna
Yeah,
have
I didn't want to
5
inundate it
esports
and take away
articles.
from everybody else.
There's your one for the basketball match that
Yeah.
happened this week, and there's your 4 more for all of the other esports
Exactly. Yeah,
titles.
it's so much, but it's a little more manageable if you condense it down.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Do you use a lot of screenshots to like help illustrate this is was the score and KDAs and different
Um,
elements like that?
so a lot of the times we end up using, graphics. We use I don't remember what this program's called, but it makes it easier to kind of keep that all together. So
Ooh.
with some games we'll do that. Other games it's kind of here's the player and then on our schedule on the website I can still put in, oh, Call of Duty went 2-1 over, whoever. And then, Hearthstone may have lost in this tournament or they did great.
Hmm.
I can use the schedule to show the visuals to keep it all in
Nice.
one place.
Okay, convenient. We like that.
Yep, I love it.
Now, anytime that the students are traveling for any lands, grand finals, things like that, anybody else from the athletic department that's traveling with them to handle photo ops, live tweeting, or is that something that you work with Travis to coordinate? How does that
Typically
work?
I end up coordinating it with Travis. We're currently about to have a LAN appearance like soon. We have Smash Bros players who are working on qualifying for Ohio Ultimate Summit, I believe is what it's called. We have one who's already
Ooh.
qualified. Um, and they go to these lands every once in a while. I think the next one's
Hmm.
like the 13th or so. I just wrote it today. And then Travis will give me like an email write up, hey, this student did really great. Like when our one student qualified, the email was 10 miles long, showing what each of the students did.
Yeah.
And, they sent me a picture, and it was really easy for me to kind of translate that into a story and
Hmm.
showcase.
Nice. Yeah, I'm always curious with, well, I'll back up before I hit on that point. For Shawnee's program, it falls directly under athletics.
Hmm. Yep.
Okay, cool. So I've always, especially since their, programs fall under different departments at different universities. So I'm always really curious, especially since the majority of them are now moving in the direction of falling under athletics. I'm always curious if they've been under athletics for a number of years, how the athletic department has adapted to that, because the athletic, like, traditional your volleyball games, right, usually, like, the maybe not the AD is at every basketball or volleyball game, but traditionally, like, the sports information director is there,
Yeah.
or somebody's there, like, covering different photography coverage, things like that. So but with the sheer amount of stuff and games and
Yeah.
lands that esports has, I always find it really interesting to see how athletics has balanced taking on such a, and I don't
Hmm.
think they always really know that they're taking on such a
It's a
beast.
lot bigger an endeavor than a lot
Yes.
of administrators think it is, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah. They're like, oh, you play every day? This, how is that
Yeah.
possible?
How do you not burn out? There's like 40 of us.
Yeah. But wait, huh? How? So I always like to kind of figure out how the athletics department as a whole in
Hmm.
esports kind of cover and play
Yeah.
um
As
during
far as
game day. I
coverage
always find that
goes,
interesting.
the nice thing is that's pretty much what I'm here for at this point. Our SID, he's my direct supervisor, and he is always on the
Okay.
move. He is covering
Mhm.
every game he can get to, and I admire having that kind of energy, first of all, because I am sleeping all
Woof.
the time. But conveniently, I could stay here at my desk and watch Smash Bros or watch League of Legends. Meanwhile,
Got your note?
my boss is in Tennessee, covering a game until 2 a.m. And I'm like, I could never. So
Ooh.
I do
Unless,
support as needed. I've written
yeah.
about, I think it was
Mhm.
bowling. So that one was really fun. I like bowling.
Ooh,
But,
Smash Bros sounds
I take
fun.
on as needed, but having that knowledge that, first of all, I don't have to deal with something I don't understand, and he doesn't have to deal
Yeah.
with something he doesn't understand, it makes the
Mhm.
balance a lot better. We're working on kind of solidifying it, but we're working on a media team to where, I handle one thing, he handles another thing. We have a graphic designer, so I don't have to make graphics. I'm competent, I'm not great.
I love that.
Yeah, I love it. It's one of the best ideas I think they've had, because that was all under the SID position before, and that's
Mhm.
just a one-way ticket to burnout.
Again, just sheer volume. It's just
Mhm.
it's just so much, and it's just so, even
Yep.
having, like, even if you had, like, a work study who could, even if you had a work study that is there 10 hours a week or 28
Mhm.
hours a week, like, even that might not be enough.
Yeah, we've had student workers before, and even though it takes a lot of the pressure off, there's so much to work with.
Yeah.
Because we
Yeah.
so part of, running esports is you have to run streams a lot. And that's where your student workers usually end up. They're casters, they're running
Mhm.
production, which just leaves all of the writing to us. Or if they do any writing, you got to, check it and edit it and, send it back, try and, help them
Yeah.
improve, get the most out of this experience.
Yeah.
It's it's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, it's still very much they're student workers, right? We're
Mhm.
like how we always talk about student athletes. It's very much like that student piece first. So they're
Yeah.
still in a position where you want them to have that learning piece. So, like, they write the article, they create the graphic. There's still that
Mhm.
Q&A piece that needs to happen where
Yep.
you go, this is great. Here's some improvements to consider and kind of utilize moving forward.
Mhm.
And even that, like you said, takes time, precious time that sometimes you don't have when you have one playoff match happen, and then 2 days later is the next round of 8 that is
Yep.
going to be happening.
It's super rewarding, but it is a lot to handle.
Yeah, right. And I like how you mentioned the broadcasting team. We haven't talked too much about that, so I would love just a little background of how that team operates within Shawnee State currently.
Yeah. So our broadcast team is primarily students. Last semester, I know it was primarily students from Travis's esports broadcasting class. You know, it was part of their credit hour. I don't know if they had one this semester. Again, I'm not really hands-on anymore. But our media team, part of that is we have somebody under the assistant AD position who schedules student workers. So, you know, hey, we have a game this day. You know, do we have a stream or do I need to get, you know, stats manually? How do I need to do this? And then, you know, I work with them and hopefully there's a VOD, or for Rocket League, there's a ball chasing link. Shout out to the API. I would be nothing regarding Rocket League without the API. And then,
Yes.
you know, day of, my graphic designer helps me make something to promote it. And I make sure that, you know, somebody knows that it's out there. And it's a lot of handing off. It's a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, it definitely sounds much more evolved than I think some broadcasting teams are currently, especially just the integration within like operating with the athletic department. I think that might be a missing connection for some universities and colleges that I'm currently seeing. Is it's almost like I have a push to talk, so I can't use my other hand. But it's almost like a V, where like this point right here is like the esports program, and
Yep.
the tip of the finger, this is the athletic department, and the other tip of the finger is the broadcast team, and it's like all funneled from the esports program, and it's not like a
Yeah.
triangle, right?
Yeah.
Um, so having that connection, I imagine, does make things a lot smoother.
Overall, it's a lot smoother. Sometimes you get those points where the left hand and the right hand are doing completely different things, and then you get 10 emails that are like, what's going on? You know, by the end of the day, we typically have something figured out, and everybody's kind of frustrated at the system because it's a well-oiled machine that occasionally needs oil.
That
But
occasionally somebody forgot to top off.
yeah, exactly. You forgot your load-bearing cardboard box sometimes. But you know, when it works, it's very smooth and it just works. When it doesn't work,
Yeah.
you see every flaw in the system.
Great. So remind me and everybody else, how long has the program been a program? How long has it existed?
So at Shawnee State, we had our first official esports team, you know, sanctioned under athletics in fall of 2018. I was on that Overwatch team. It's a very special thing for me. I love to talk about it. And since then, if I remember correctly, just to kind of show the growth, that semester we got jerseys. I didn't know it until like last year. They were paid for by our basketball program. Our budget was a goose egg that
Wow.
semester. And so, you
Thanks,
know, seeing it
basketball.
now where they've oh yeah, our basketball team is very kind on that front, and I'm still grateful for that because that jersey's still in my drawer. I wear it. You know, and seeing it grow to where we're working on a proper arena that is going to be our own and it's built for us is it's absolutely phenomenal. I'm seeing, you know, 2018 me's wildest dreams come true.
Yeah. Wow. So that's, whew, man,
6
that,
years.
yeah. Phew, that is, and that's like, that was certainly that 2018, 2019 boom of programs. I think
Mhm.
everybody can agree that that was a huge time frame where a bunch of programs, boom, like
Yep.
really came on the map right before COVID. Glory.
Yep.
Um, and that was such a boom for programs. So I think it also just goes to show that it does take so much time for these programs to mature and for programs to get to the point where it's a nice triangle between esports and athletics and
Yeah.
the broadcast team.
Rome was not built in a
Um,
day, and neither is an esports program.
neither is the esports program at the university.
Yep. It's a
And
very interesting dichotomy because a lot of things in esports are very instantaneous because we all use the internet and the internet is perpetual, you can't escape it. And then when you get to like the university level, it's a lot slower of a process. I had to get used to that. And I'm still trying
higher
to find the balance sometimes, especially around
it's
playoffs.
it's this weird esports, it changes in the blink of an eye, and
Yep.
higher education moves at the speed of an iceberg.
Yep, that's
It's
exactly it.
just, and it is this weird, you have to navigate how both of those things operate at the same time. It is no
Yep.
easy feat.
The nice thing is, this was something, especially towards the end of my time as a student.
Hmm.
I wasn't a student athlete very long. I got burned out in 2018, and I said, "Hey, I need to step back and just focus on the club," because I was also
Hmm.
a club leader at the time, which I ended up becoming the club president and the TESPA chapter leader. Shout out to TESPA. There's a pillow over there.
I was gonna ask about that. I was like,
I
I think that's a
I miss
Tesla pillow
TESPA, and
back
I will
there.
forever sing its praises. Um, but I was the TESPA chapter leader, and conveniently, Travis Lynn was our advisor. So
Love
it
it.
was a very integrated experience. You know, whenever we had students show up and they were like, "Hey, we want to compete in Rainbow Six," and the athletics side of esports doesn't cover that, so I covered it as a club, and it helped kind
Oh,
of bridge the
lovely.
gap between how instantaneous esports is and how iceberg collegiate is.
Yeah,
It's student
yeah,
orgs are great. Work with your student orgs.
yeah. Is that still kind of the same layout that's happening at Shawnee? You still have kind of the varsity
Um,
side and also that student club
it's
involvement as well.
unfortunately my club folded like a year after I left, I think. But we still have club programs. It's just more sanctioned under athletics now instead of more student ran. So it's still
Oh,
there.
okay,
It's just
okay.
got more support from the top down.
Oh, okay. Do you like that model? Do you
Um,
feel like it works?
I like it because it aged with me.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Fair.
I can still be hands-on and help if needed, even though I'm not the club leader anymore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fair. You still kind of have your hands
Hmm.
in the cookie
You
jar.
know,
I love that.
luckily I've not been needed to help. We had, I don't know if we still do, again, disconnected. We had a coordinator for our club teams and our JV teams.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, he took care of those while we took care of varsity. So it was a
Okay.
little more, again, it was the top down support that I think they really needed at the time anyway.
Yeah, yeah. How cool. Well, I have certainly loved kind of getting a deep dive into Anissa on the in the daytime. But now let's talk about what Anissa does
In my
not
spare
during the
time.
daytime out in the spare time. So talk to me about Final Fantasy because me, right? Big nerd. I don't think anybody thinks anything differently about that. She goes to the Dragon Con, she does the cosplay, all that stuff. But
Living the
I've
life
never
I dream of.
touched, and I have never touched a Final Fantasy game in my life. So
Conveniently,
I
I
will.
hadn't either.
So I'm gonna need a little bit of education. What is Final Fantasy? Tell us about it. What's your big involvement in it? Because like you
Okay.
run like raids and stuff.
I do
I,
run raids.
I yes,
So
I want to know about it.
specifically, I play Final Fantasy 14. There are now 16 of them in total. So luckily, you do not need to play any of the others to play this one. Like they're all
That would be
self-contained, and it's very
a
convenient.
that would
So
be a
if you just
time
want to
sink.
jump in with one of them, you can. 14 is one of two MMOs that are in the series. The other one is 11. I've never played 11, but it's a I don't know a whole lot about the MMO genre. It's kind of my first proper MMO. The closest thing I played was
Oh,
Destiny at the time.
fun.
So I got into it.
Nice.
You know, my friend was like, "Hey, look at all these really cute outfits you could put on your character." And I was like, "Fine, sign me up."
I mean,
I like to play dress up. And the story is kind of built like an RPG as well. They've made it to where you can play the entire thing solo if you want to. Like you
ooh,
barely have to you know, connect with other people, or you can really lean into that. So
Mhm.
it's very personalized in that way.
Uh-huh.
And that said, the story took me a whole year to get through. It's long.
Whoa. Wowie.
Yeah. And then once I got to endgame, I started doing endgame rating, which was a lot more than I ever expected it to be, but it also taught me how to learn. You know, especially with COVID, because
Ooh.
I started playing in 2020. I really struggled
Mm.
with adjusting to remote learning. I was struggling to retain information. I wasn't learning. I was just kind of going through the motions. And then I started rating and I was like, I need to learn how to learn. And I learned that I take notes now.
Wow.
I watch a video on how
Wow.
to do the thing, I write it down, and then when I start doing it, I have to refer back to it.
Uh-huh.
So it taught me how to learn.
That is, and who says video games like can't
Yeah,
be beneficial and shouldn't be in the
exactly.
classroom? Hello.
Exactly. Man, you want to talk about it shouldn't be in the classroom. There is a infamous boss we call MathBot.
Uh, ooh.
Yeah.
Half-bot.
So this bot, it's a boss, right? And it sets your health total to a single digit number. And then it gives you a prompt. You have to stand in a number 1 to 5. It adds on to your health number to solve the prompt. One of them is prime numbers. I will fight
Oh.
them. One is a prime number. I have died a lot because I swear up and down one is a prime number.
I will prove you wrong, Mathbot.
Unfortunately, I am proven wrong every time. So yeah, there is a connection. It's a difficult connection, and it's frustrating because I'm bad at math, but it is there.
That is so cool. I love that. So, do you have like a set group of people that you always raid with? Is it
Hmm.
different? How does kind of raiding? Because I've like raided in a past life.
Okay.
She was in college and that's all she did. Her second year of college was WoW. That's all she played. So it's been a long time since I've raided, but how is it like similar to the
So
WoW
there's
raiding?
kind of two big paths you can take, and this is
Mhm.
something I'm hoping to kind of put down either on paper or make a video of it someday because I think it's something a lot of people would be interested in. There's
Yeah.
kind of two big paths. We have an in-game like looking for group feature. So
Mhm.
you can go in and you can just go with random folks all you want to and, kind of be at the whims of Party Finder.
Uh-huh.
Or conveniently for me, I got dragged into a raid static. So there's 8 of us. We show up twice a week. We have a goofy time. We make some progression and we go home. And,
Yeah.
we've been raiding for, I think, a year and a half now. At least a year.
Wow.
Yeah. I joined
Wow.
them a year and a half ago, and slowly my friend group has taken over like half of the raid static now as, people have lives, you can't
Oh,
stick with it
sure.
forever sometimes.
Yeah.
And so, I've kind of brought and I've got my group of friends plus these other folks we've met.
Mhm.
And, we have our set roles, we go in and we know what we're doing, we know what we're supposed to do.
Uh-huh.
And
Yep.
we work on it together. We're currently working on like some of the hardest content in the game. Every game's got tiers for their raids, right?
Uh-huh.
You've
Yeah.
got like your normal, you've got your hard mode. So in 14, you have your normal raids. You have
Mhm.
Savage, which is the hard mode of the same raids. And then there are ultimate raids, which is like
Mhm.
the hardest thing the devs can think to throw at you. It's an
Oh.
18-minute long fight, and if you die, you start at minute 1.
Oh no.
I'm doing my first one, and I'm relearning how to learn all over again.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Because normally I'm a very like I like to see the whole playing field kind of person before I even make a decision. I can't do that here. I know what I
You
do. I only know what
yeah.
I do, and that is all I care about. It's a
Wowie.
big trust exercise.
It seems like a a dance that you can't choreograph.
Yep.
You
I've heard
just
that comparison a lot. It is very much
yeah.
like a dance.
Wow. How fascinating. I love it. That's so neat. Um, so Final Fantasy 14 was the
14.
one.
Yes.
14. And you have to play the main story before
Mhm.
you start raiding
Yes. And I've
to like
heard
get the
like
XP.
Yes.
that you need
Not only to
okay,
level up, but
okay.
so you understand where you started and where you've been. I've heard,
Yeah.
especially, I have a friend who used to play WoW, and a lot of folks
Yeah.
approach WoW like you get through the story to play the game, right? 14
Yeah,
is very
that
much the
feels right.
opposite. You get through the story to enjoy the story, and then you get to go do all this extra stuff.
Oh.
So you
Okay.
you approach it like an RPG, and
Hmm.
then you play the MMO. Is kind of how I learned.
Oh, that is kind of oh, that does sound kind of fun.
Oh, I love
Okay.
it. I
Yeah.
get my story scratch itched, and then I itch scratched. There we go. And then I get to go do like really hard content, and then I get to go play more story later on when they update.
So how often does it update?
I think they're on like an every 4 months ish schedule. We're in like some downtime before an
Wow.
expansion this summer, so
Oh, wow. So
yeah, they
it's
add,
also something like WoW where it keeps
yeah,
adding to
they add maybe an hour or so of content depending on how big the story beat is that patch,
Uh-huh.
and it's all this big long continual story. You're reading a book.
Man, they've really got this figured out, haven't they?
Yeah, I know. Something critically acclaimed copy pasta.
Boy, howdy, they've really got this figured out. Okay, very cool. I love it. I might consider that. I think that sounds
You
really
do let me
fun.
know.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds really fun. I'm gonna look into it later. Um, Now another thing that I believe that you also enjoy in the spare time. It might be a little Dungeons, a little Dragons.
I
Am
do, in
I am,
fact.
am I picking up on that correctly?
Indeed, I do play D&D once a week-ish.
I love
Sometimes
it.
every other week.
Okay.
I'm not the only one in
So,
academia, so
yeah, right. So I have never completed a single campaign. I have started maybe 2, 3, 4 campaigns, and I always
yeah,
get
that
like
sounds
2
about right.
sessions in, and I've never completed a single one. So
Okay.
I would love to hear kind of about how you D&D, what you love about it, what you hate about it.
Okay.
Let's hear that story.
So I get to play D&D in a really cool way. We play on Discord, so basically, you know how I'm talking to you now. We play
Mhm.
D&D, we use physical dice and stuff. But, we're all across the country. I've got a friend who works at
Oh,
UC Berkeley.
neat.
So like he's in
Very
Pacific, I'm in
cool.
Eastern. We have to try and, get the schedule together, but when we do, we get to sit down and we use, video chat. So it's like we're all sitting in the same room. And, we've been playing since good grief. 2020? I started a lot in 2020, so probably
Yeah,
2020.
no kidding. I love
Yeah.
it.
We've had some big breaks just because, folks have lives, we're all
Oh yeah.
adults.
Mhm. Mhm.
But we always come back to it, and that said, all this time and we're level 6. It's a very slow burn.
Whoa. Yeah. So it's like it's been the one campaign.
Mhm. Yep.
Wow.
We've got 2 characters. We got this, we call it our looking glass party, kind of Alice in Wonderland style. We have one character that's our usual character, and occasionally we dip to this other party. It's really cool.
Oh,
I love it.
both in the same story realm?
Yes, it is all one big story that I haven't figured out yet, but it is a story.
Oh, so that's called homebrew, right? When you
Some
come
of
up
it's
with your
homebrew. Yeah,
own.
it's not like a
Okay.
campaign that is in a book. My friend
Okay.
spent
Okay.
like his entire grad school career writing it. So he's a theater kid who is looking to get that feeling
Yes.
out.
Come on, theater kid. I might be able to identify with a theater kid.
Hey, it does a really good job for that. You get
I
to sit
love it.
there and like if you're really into the theater kid roleplay stuff, that's an option,
Yeah, yeah. So
which is good because I stink at math.
how many are within the party, within your group?
So we have a pretty big party now. We've kept adding people. I think we're up to 6 now. I think we might
Wow.
be at
Cool.
7, somewhere in there.
Okay.
So it's a large party. We make it work.
Nice.
Combat takes forever.
Oh, yeah. And how when when do you think that y'all will complete the campaign? If you had to guess like a time
I
frame.
don't know. That's the fun part. I have, the guy who runs this, my friend, is one
Uh-huh.
of those kinds of people. He loves a slow burn story.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
I don't mind that though, because it's a very nice positive social obligation for me. I'm
Yeah.
shy, I'm an introvert, I like to stay home. It makes me talk to people.
Yeah. Yeah. I can it definitely D&D was I think it was the 2020, right? It was the staying at home, and my
Mhm.
friends and I also tried to do the I mean we got like 2 or 3 sessions into a D&D campaign. So it was definitely one of those ways to be connected. I do wish we kind of kept up with it. Um, Adam Antor started a session and then
Oh my
left us
goodness.
all out to dry. Thank you, Adam. If you ever want to
Oh, you're
revive that,
killing
let me
me.
know,
Come
Adam.
on. Need to get it back going. It's so fun.
Come on, Adam.
It's a good way to de-stress
Um,
too.
yeah, and it's really fun because I think it gives esports or not, I think it gives everybody the opportunity to flex that creative part of their brain
Mhm.
in a way that they may not be able to within their
Yeah.
normal day-to-day life.
Absolutely. When I started playing, with my best friends at their kitchen table, in high school,
Yeah.
it wasn't something we were very good at, and it was super cringy, and we would laugh at one another because it felt really gross to do. And then,
Yeah.
I went and started playing with my other friends, and I'm like, I can do these really, kind of serious, heavy moments if I want to. I can get some
Uh-huh.
feelings and,
Yeah.
help, help build this
Yeah.
really big story. Because that's our kind of philosophy with it is it's a big sandbox and we're all playing in it. So,
Yeah.
we have our little stories that we're trying to meld into this big world, and it's a very good way to do positive creativity. My job is creative all the time. People get burned out in creative jobs unless
Mhm.
you find a positive way to do it for you.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
How
that's a really
neat.
good way. I write about my character every once in a while. Like if I really just have, the brain worms, I will
Yeah.
open up Microsoft Word and I'll write something down, how is she feeling in this situation where we left off?
Oh, so cool. And then like use that as like fuel the next time that
Exactly.
y'all get into it.
Mhm.
Oh, so cool. Now,
Yep.
if there is an aspect of D&D that you could change, is there something in it that you're like, "Oh, I really dislike X part of it?" Because I think the one thing for me that drove me insane, I think, was um the combat when it did take too much, because it's a lot of numbers and I forget that I have
Mhm.
certain spells that can be used or can't be used, and that's to the discretion of
That's me.
someone
I'm a terrible
else.
note taker. So, most people they go in and they're like, "Yeah, somebody takes notes, right?" It's not me. It is not me. So, yeah, I think that's the big thing. I have no sense of memory and I cannot take notes.
Yeah.
We've started to work with that. We record our sessions and just stick them in a Google Drive folder. That way, if I'm like, it's been a month, we had playoffs or whatever, what
Brilliant.
did I miss? I could just go listen to it like, discount Critical Role. I don't know. We're
Yeah.
pretty cool. I don't think we're that cool, but
No.
we're pretty cool.
Brilliant. That I think is so clever.
That's the nice thing. They've been really accommodating for my inability to remember things or my inability
Yeah.
to focus. That's why we started doing the camera thing. Was like I just kind of like zone out like I was watching a video and I ended up asleep in my chair. So they were like, "Yeah, we could try that," and it worked out.
I think that's so funny. But also like what a cool way to even just like reflect back on how much you've accomplished.
Mhm.
Like y'all have been playing since 4 years into the campaign. Like there's so much
Yeah.
story there and there's so much substance there. Like what a cool thing to be able to just like go back, like listen to episode
Mhm.
1 and like see how far that you've made it. Like how cool is
Yeah.
that?
And like it's especially cool cuz I like to create characters that are a part of me. I
Mhm.
ended up I write about my Final Fantasy 14 character. I've got a story for her too. I'm a writer. I have an English degree. I'm a writer. So I always like to put a
Yeah.
part of me in that. My D&D character, she's really shy. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, I'm not this shy anymore. So I've had to kind of work with that and make her less shy.
Oh
I'm still
wow.
shy. I'm just not that
Progress.
shy.
Progress.
Progress.
I love it. All right, well, we are coming up on time here.
Okay.
Um, last thing that I definitely want to afford you is the opportunity to plug. So any
Okay.
projects that you're working on, your socials, anything that you would like to plug for the
Okay.
greater audience.
So I'm gonna just give a really like rough and dirty version of my Twitch outro. Hi, I'm the Queen of Salt. I like to stream MMOs and Just Dance. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Queen of NACL, same as you see down here. You can also find me on Twitter at Queen of NACL, same as you see down here. You'll probably find random thoughts about hot takes. Random thoughts about hot takes. Not wrong. Esports, Final Fantasy 14. I like to take virtual photography in game and I post it. I like post stream stuff. I post a little bit of everything. Again, variety is the spice of life. I'm also really blurry now all of a sudden. So, if you want to keep up with me, that's where you can find me. Otherwise, I'm in the Esports and Coffee Discord and I talk a lot. You'll see me.
Yes, yes, I love it. Awesome. So thank you so much, Anissa, for joining us today. As always, like she mentioned, join the Discord server to interact with our community. Check out our website to explore some additional content and follow us on X for any esports and coffee updates. But for now, we are out of copy, so stop by next time for more Corkboard connections. Take care, everybody.